All right, there we go. Hey, Misha. Привет, русский. Русский drug or drug. Drug? I always forget. It's singular drug. I think it's drug. Anyway, hey guys, sorry about that. Yeah, if I launch and I click the wrong camera, it disappears. It's so, and there's no way to change it back. It's so freaking frustrating. All right. Anyway, all right, let me get, TikTok is ready to roll. Rolling TikTok. Woo. All right. TikTok. All right. Where's my phone? All right. All right. Oh, there we go. All right. There's TikTok. Oh, it's such a pain. It's such a pain. Anyway, but it frustrates because like literally I go live and I can see the camera's not working, and TikTok or YouTube for whatever reason won't let you change the camera mid once it's live. It's just like, why? Who knows? Anyway, guys. So yes, welcome back. I did not come on yesterday. You know, after the plumber left, I was just so tired. I was like, oh, forget it. He didn't go too long, but it was long enough that I was like, you know, it's just too much. So anyway, and then today ended up being a zoo of a day too. So anyway, so fair warning, and mods, you can tell people that happens, but waiting to hear from mom's in the hospital, waiting to hear from mom's doctor. So if mom's doctor calls, I've got to take the call because like I'm the one in the family who's good at those kind of calls and like getting all the info. So, and of course I could almost guarantee you he'll call when the show's live. There's almost a guess, right? So if he calls, I've got to close up and answer the phone. So just be aware. So anyway, but I just was wondering because literally it'll be like the fire alarm the other day, like, you know, she's not doing great, unfortunately. So, you know, I got to talk to the doctor. So, I mean, she's 94, you know, lived a good life, but it's like, what do you do? Anyway, all right, let's get rolling with this, guys. We can talk more later. What am I? Oh, coffee talk. Sorry, I'm adjusting my light as I talk to you. So remember, we've got our coffee talk. Very interesting stuff in Ukraine. I know I was looking forward to talking Ukraine last night because we had so much cool Ukraine news, you know. But tomorrow morning, we've got our coffee talk. Thank you, Elizabeth. Remember, 11 a.m. Eastern time, US. I do my special show for paid subscribers. Again, was going to do one today, but it just got too mixed up with everything else. But special show for paid subscribers tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, US. That will be on TikTok, YouTube, and Discord for depending where you subscribe. So join us. It's our chance to hang out, just the paid subscribers, the monthly subscribers. And it's just a nice chance for us to hang out and talk. So very one-on-one, very informal. So please do consider joining us for that. Let's get rolling. So thank you, Cool, for the gifts. Please keep the gifts coming, guys. You know how this is. I do this for a living, and your gifts do help pay the bills. So thank you. Thank you, Shane, as well. Thank you, Chazak, Richard. And if you can afford a subscription or even a gift subscription that somebody else can get, that would be cool too. The subscriptions give you access to a series of special shows I'm doing now, in addition to the free ones that I'm still doing. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Huzatarad. I'm also doing Shebug, thank you. I'm also doing extra election shows several times a week, including tomorrow mornings, for the paid subscribers, just to basically say thank you. So if you can afford it, I appreciate it. Thank you, Nicolate. Thank you, Jan Thomas. Thank you, Blessed Girl. If anybody has sort of advice for Irwelina, who's having trouble subscribing on TikTok, feel free. I do not. Thank you, Jorge, Nicolate, Martin, Blessed, Ruin. Lots of gifts. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. And Daniel. So, lot of polling news for Kamala Harris. It's good again. I mean, so far, she's still on a roll, guys. This is very good. It's very good. I'm sorry to hear that, WC. So still good news. The Trump, let's start first with Trump. Thank you, Dora. So Trump did a kind of crazy press conference last night or this morning. Well, last night, I think it was. Yeah, because it was happening during my show. That's right. You guys were talking about it. You were right. It was crazy. Thank you, Adventures, Mama, Jeremy, Dora, Jeremy, Iwalina. So Trump has something weird's going on. Thank you, Iwalina, for subscribing. Trump is not doing campaign events. This entire week, the next 7 days, he's doing one event in Minnesota. Not Minnesota, excuse me, in Montana. That might be today. Montana, Trump won by 16 points. Trump doesn't need to campaign in Montana. He says he's doing it for the Senate race. There's 3 months left in this election, fewer than 3 months. Donald Trump needs to be campaigning left and right. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, are going to, thank you, Mel, for subscribing, are going to 7 states over these 7 days. 1 state a day they're going to be campaigning in. Trump is doing 1 state, 1 day out of 7. The other 7, he's doing nothing. He's doing some interviews and things, but doing nothing. Thank you, Mel, for subscribing. It's weird. It's very weird. Blue Ariel, did you do more subscriptions? Thank you. It's very strange. I'm just telling you, there's something going on. 2 possibilities. He's sick, there's something wrong, or he thinks tactically this is wise. Doesn't quite make sense. Why would this be wise tactically, right? Why? This doesn't make sense that this would be a wise thing. You could say, if Kamala Harris were doing so bad, thank you, Randy, thank you, Ted. Oh, hey, Corey, thank you for subscribing over on YouTube. Corey Cantrell, appreciate that. You could, I think this is crazy logic, but you could argue, Kamala Harris is doing so badly, Trump should just sit back and watch her implode, right? And don't get involved. Except she's not doing badly. She's doing really well. Thank you, High Tide, right? The polls have been, I'm going to go through more polls later. The polls have been great for her. Since Biden announced, and my voice is getting a little scratchy, so I'm trying to talk softer and use my good mic. Oops, actually the mic is on too high anyway. There we go. The mic was on too high. Put the mic closer to my mouth so you can hear me better. She's doing really well, right? She's got momentum. She's got money coming in. In all the polls, she's gone up significantly from where Biden was. Kamala Harris is doing well. You need to break that momentum. You do not just let her keep talking and have her numbers keep going up. It doesn't make sense that Trump isn't campaigning. Oh, thank you, Corey, for gifting a membership. Michael Taylor, you got Corey's membership for the next month. That means you get some fun emojis you can use and stuff, but it also means you can join our weekend show, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday morning, and some of the other shows I'll do during the week as well, usually late morning, to talk about the election. Thank you, Ernie. So that's the first thing, right? Trump not campaigning this week can't be because, Kamala Harris is doing so poorly in the polls. Let's just let her hang herself. She's doing really well. That's not it. I think there's something wrong with him. There's no other, I can't find a third. I mean, does anybody else have a third explanation, right? What's the third explanation? Some people said, his staff won't let him. This is Donald Trump we're talking about. His staff won't let him? Have you met Donald Trump? I mean, come on, right? Please. Trump is going to do whatever Trump wants to do. I think there's something wrong with him. I think, hey, he's old, he's scared. I think there's something physically wrong with him this week, and they don't want to tell us. He could have COVID. Who knows, right? But something happened. Thank you, Ulita. There's something going on. It doesn't make sense. So he holds his press conference last night, and among other things, apparently it was an hour long. I mean, I was on with you guys. It probably would have been worth watching. But among other things, he started going off on the size of the crowd on January 6th. January 6th was his insurrection, when he tried to violently overthrow the government. To Trump, of course, that's a badge of honor. Oh, look at the great number of people we had, right? Thank you, Ashton, Evelina, Stephanie. Look at the large number of people we had. Trump had 15,000 people, basically. Thank you, Stitch Guy, that came to the mall that day to see him, and then several thousand went to raid the Congress. 15,000. He got up there for several minutes and talked about how I had more people than Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, he said, Martin Luther King had 1 million men on the mall. I had more. Okay, this is delusional on multiple fronts. One, Trump had 15,000 at his rally to overthrow the government. Two, Martin Luther King had 250,000. He didn't have 1 million. Now, Martin Luther King, what Trump is referring to is 1963 March on Washington. Probably the most famous civil rights march in America in some ways. Martin Luther King, African-American, the most famous civil rights activist in American history, again, I would argue, and sort of the most august, and held a huge rally on the National Mall about, I'm going to get this wrong. It better have been passage of the Civil Rights Act, but basically civil rights overall. Hugely successful, hugely important in American history. Trump claims he had more people than Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had 250,000 people. I have a dream. Exactly. It's the I have a dream speech. Beautiful. Google it, by the way, the I have a dream speech. I have a dream. It's a beautiful video of him speaking. Any of you who aren't familiar with it, American or foreign, it's really amazing to watch. So 250,000 people at the probably the most famous civil rights rally in American history and the most moving. And Trump claims mine was better. Okay, he had 15,000 people. Martin Luther King had 250,000 people. Trump claimed Martin Luther King had 1 million people because Trump was getting confused. Trump was referring to the Million Man March, which was around 1995 or so, around that time, maybe a year or two before. It was 95, I think. And it was a black men's march, civil rights march. But that they claimed to have 1 million. I don't know that they had 1 million, but they claimed to have 1 million. So Trump not only is lying about the entire thing, he's confusing the entire story. But again, he's also, you got to watch the tape. Mine was bigger than Martin Luther King. Mine was the biggest ever. And it's just like, dude, you had 15,000 people there. And comparing yourself to Martin Luther King. He's a nasty human being. He really is. Thank you, Alisoni. Hey, Chad, thank you for subscribing. All right, let's talk polls here. Number of good polls for Kamala Harris. Oops, my dryer is going off. Anybody who has an LG? Kind of cute, kind of annoying, but kind of cute. It goes off at like the craziest times. A new Marquette poll of registered voters. This one's kind of crazy. Harris 50, Trump 42, Kennedy 6. That sounds a bit of an outlier to me. That sounds a little too good. Harris 50, Trump 42. That's a little too good, I think. Now, this poll previously had shown that it was 50-50. Oh, no, different one. I'm sorry. So 50-42, and Kennedy gets 6. That's pretty shocking. Now, part of the problem is it could be taking 6 from Trump. It could be taking all the votes from Trump. For Congress, because people have been asking about Congress, for registered voters nationwide, it was 50-50 Dem-Republican. So which party would you be more likely to vote for Congress in your district? Thank you for the gift, Joshua. And it was 50% said Democrat, 50% said Republican for Congress. Now they're saying 52 Democrat, 48 Republican. Small, but good. And these are registered voters, which one thing to remember when you're looking at polls, you want to see who are they polling, meaning the lowest level, which isn't really as important, is registered voters. This one actually, which is registered voters. Well, actually, you can even go farther. You can go eligible voters, right? In other words, anybody eligible to vote. You can go registered voters, which means you're actually registered. That makes you a little more likely to vote. If you're not registered, right? Are you going to vote? Who knows? So registered voters is good. Likely voters is best. Thank you, Marie, for the gift. Likely voters is best. And thank you, Tiger, because likely voters, they go one step further and look at your voting record. Who you voted for is not online, but whether you voted is, and they look at people who have voted consistently in the past. So they say, okay, these are the most likely people to vote. What do they think? Those polls tend to be the best. So this is registered voters, which is still pretty good. Poll for Congress, as I said, was 50-50. Now it's 52 Dem, 48 GP. GOP. Another poll, Ipsos, which is another good poll of registered voters, has Harris at 42, Trump at 37 nationwide. She jumped 5 points from where Biden was. That's huge. Let's look at some of the states because, as I've told you guys before, national polls are helpful, but they're not helpful enough. Thank you, Lise. In the U.S., we vote by state. And what I mean by that is Hillary Clinton won against Donald Trump in 2016 by votes. She was 3 million votes ahead of Trump. She lost the election. Al Gore, the Democrat, Bill Clinton's vice president, beat George Bush in 2000 by 500,000 votes. He lost the election. That's because in America, you have to win individual states, and each state has a number of points assigned to it. I tell people it's like Risk. And you've got to get a certain number of points. It's actually 270 points, 270 delegates, they're called, in order to, or like, God, I'm forgetting delegates, electoral votes, delegates, whatever, electoral votes. But you've got to get 270 of them in order to win. You've got to do that by winning these various states. Just because you win the national vote doesn't mean you win. So when people tell you national polls, they're interesting. Like, it's interesting to see that Kamala Harris went up 5 points in the national polls. That's huge. Very important, right? I mean, because it shows a trend, it shows momentum, it shows people are liking her. That does give you good information, but it doesn't tell you how she's doing in the individual states. I'm going to tell you that next. Chad Rusher, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships on YouTube. They went to Tony K, Duncan S, Chris S, Sanka maybe, and Huge Mark maybe. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. I never get those correct. HG Mark. That means all of you guys get special emojis you can use, but you can also come to our weekend shows, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, and my shows I'll be doing sometimes during the day. I'll do my special shows as well. I'll do at least one this weekend, probably special election show as well. All right. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, April, for subscribing on TikTok. Thank you, Marie, for the gift. So let's look at some states, okay? Cook Political reports. Cook Political Report is very credible and very good. They report that in 3 key swing states, Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia, these 3 states went from leaning Republican to toss-up. Now, the way you sort of do it is a toss-up is a tie, right? Lean Democrat, a little bit more towards Democrat. Then I forget what the next one is. There's lean Democrat. Is it solid Democrat? I forget what the next one is. The other way is lean Republican and then much more Republican. So toss-up means tied. These 3 states are likely, that's what it is. Thank you. Likely Republican. Thank you. I knew it was some word I was missing that was in between. So you've got lean Republican and then you've got likely Republican. That's stronger. Well, this went from lean Republican in these 3 states, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, all very important states. From lean Republican, they now are toss-ups. So they moved 1 point closer to the Democrats. So now it's a tie. That's huge. It's 3 key states. It again shows you why what we're seeing in these national polls is having an impact in the states, that people are liking her more than Biden, and it's switching votes. Alan Richardson says, and thank you, Alan, for being a member for a month. It's time to get rid of the Electoral College. We need an amendment to change it. Yes, we do. Alan is talking about the crazy way that we elect presidents, which I was telling you that the popular vote doesn't pick the president. It's crazy. The problem is it's in the Constitution. Smaller states don't want to get rid of it. Republicans really don't want to get rid of it. Twice in the last 20 years, Democrats won the election. They won the vote. And they lost the presidency because they didn't win the right states. But again, Hillary Clinton won by 2 percentage points. That's huge. She lost the presidency. Al Gore won by 500,000 votes, lost the presidency. They're lucky it happened to Democrats because Democrats are pushovers. If that happened to Republicans, they would be rioting in the streets if twice the election was taken from them. They had the popular vote. They would be pushing to change the Constitution. Thank you, Pedro. Democrats are not pushing to change the Constitution. So they should change it, but they won't. They won't. All right, let me get more here. Oh, more states. This is from Larry Sabato. Larry Sabato is very good. He's with the University of Virginia. He is a sort of huge American polling expert, very objective, very good. So Sabato says that Minnesota and New Hampshire are now both leaning much more Democratic with Kamala Harris. They were not leaning that way with Biden. They're leaning that way now, which is great. Georgia was clearly leaning Trump. Most of the state of Georgia was clearly leaning Trump most of this year. Not true anymore. There is so much enthusiasm for Harris, he says. It's now a toss-up. North Carolina, which is normally Republican, but becoming more competitive because the demographics of the state are changing. So this is really, again, sort of state by state, really interesting. Anybody who wants to go and just like grab stuff, I would say do a screen grab and translate stuff so we know kind of what folks are saying there. Anyway, am I nervous or excited for the debate? I'd say excited. Now, Trump's an idiot, right? He's a misogynist. He's a sexist. He will do all sorts of horrible things to run all over Kamala Harris, but she's pretty strong. She's pretty strong. And Trump did agree finally, for now, to debate Kamala Harris in the debate that was already agreed to. Remember, he was trying to pull out of the debate on September 10th and ABC's debate, and then he pulled out. Well, now it looks like he said he would debate her, which is good. Now they're still trying to get her to debate him on Fox News and all this crap because he wants Fox News because it's, Republican moderators, and he wants Fox News because he wants a crazy, yelling, screaming audience, which helps him shut the other person down, right? They scream and they yell, and Trump loves that. Trump just wants to cause chaos, right? Any case, Latinos. Harris is improving with Latinos. This is pretty well. Listen to this. Biden with Latino voters. Biden was at 41%. Trump was at 50. So 41 to 50. Okay. Trump was at 50. Harris is now at 57% to Trump's 38. So you're talking a 17-point jump with Latino voters, which is freaking huge. So that's very cool. That's very cool. I'm going to adjust my temperature again here. 1 second. Deep, 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 deep. There we go. All right. What else we got? TikTok. There was an interesting story. I don't know where I read it, but talking about TikTok and Kamala Harris, that, and we all knew this, that Donald Trump was doing very well on TikTok. Republicans kind of owned TikTok. It was all Trump stuff. 2 to 1 was the figure I saw of pro-Trump to pro-Harris information on TikTok. And now JD Vance and Harris get on. JD Vance is getting no traction at all. He's getting no followers at all. Harris came on and it's through the roof. She's getting tons of followers. People are excited. They're doing videos. They're repurposing her videos. And basically she's doing much better than Trump now, because Trump was the one taking the lead on TikTok. Then Vance came in. Bummer. Nobody cared about him. And with her, it's doing very well. So just thought that was kind of cool. What else we got? So Tim Walz, maybe we'll get into this. So I don't know how many of you know about this. We're going to get to Ukraine next. There's a lot of good Ukraine news. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but back in 2004, and I want to, well, hold on a second. Chris, real quick. Do you think he had fake electors in 2016? They voted him in? I don't think so, Chris. Chris is talking about Trump's plan that he was going to do in 2020, where he was going to try to steal the election by having these, because we have a crazy system of how the president gets picked. You basically vote for people who then vote for the president for it. So we vote for people in each state, and those people who get elected vote for president. Trump was going to pick fake people in those states. The Republicans were to vote so that even if we voted for Biden, the majority, they would say, oh, you voted for Trump. They tried to do it in 2020. It was illegal. They're in real trouble. But there's been no indication that that happened in 2016 that I've seen. I think that was something new that came up in 2016 or 2020. So the Swift boat veterans. So back in 2004, this is an important story, because the guy who did this scam is now one of Trump's top campaign aides, and he's doing it to Tim Walz, the vice president nominee. And what they did was they took a John Kerry, who's, oops, where is this? I'm trying to find you this. Come on. It's not coming up. Hold on. One moment. I'm trying to pull this up on Google. I had it earlier today. I will find this. I'm pulling up boats, which is kind of funny. Come on, guys. All right. I'm going to keep looking for this. Basically, the Republicans, John Kerry was the Democratic presidential candidate in 2004. He was a war hero. He had several Purple Hearts because of being injured in action. He saved a boatload of men fighting in Vietnam, being fired at, and was injured. The Republicans destroyed him because of his military service. Now, they took a man who, again, had multiple Purple Hearts. In other words, injured in action multiple times. Okay. And decided, let's attack him because he's a veteran, right? Let's attack him. And they did. And they were quite successful, because the media always gets into, the media loves this stuff. And the media was like, well, they say you're a fraud. They got, Republicans who served in Vietnam, who stepped up and said, he's a fraud, what he did, this kind of garbage, right? Is what they do. Well, the guy who coordinated, and it really hurt Kerry, thank you, Dora, partially because Democrats are wimps, right? Anybody else who was a vet would stand up and knock your face, knock your head off. Democrats go, hang on. Sorry, I think this is Amazon. Oh, hey, come on in. Thank you. Yeah, yep, thanks. Sorry, I was waiting for the doctor to call for mom, and that was Amazon calling. So okay to get them beamed into. At least my coffee arrived. Like I said, I'm waiting for a call from my mom's doctor. So if he comes in, I'm going to have to end the show early. I may try to come on after. But so they obliterated this guy, and they were quite successful at it. They made it a negative that he was a war hero. Now, the worst thing they did, and I am going to find you this. So the Republican convention, where they get together and they pick their candidate, okay? They hold on. GOP convention. All right, hold on. I am going to find this if it kills me. It's driving me nuts because I saw it earlier. It's just not letting me. Shoot. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it's not coming up. Anyway, what they did at convention is they passed out Band-Aids, little bandages, and they had a little Purple Heart, which is the name of the medal that our troops win when they're injured in action. And they put a little Purple Heart, and they all wore bandages on their heads, every single person, 30,000 people in the room, to make fun of him, saying, oh, look, I've got a Purple Heart too. Guys, I mean, it was horrific. It was absolutely the most obscene thing you've ever seen. Taking a war hero and I am going to find this. One more time I'm looking because I want to show you this. GOP convention, John Kerry stickers. Here we go. There we go. Oh, actually, they're not. One sec. I'm going to pull up the CNN article. Come on, CNN. Oh, I love this. Old CNN articles where they got rid of the, Here we go. I'm taking a picture of this so I can show you, just because I think the visual is really important on this. I mean, you need to see this to appreciate just how scummy and obnoxious these people were. So, all right, here you go. So this is the Republican convention, 2004, and they are making fun of a man who was a war hero, decorated war hero. He bravely saved a group of his men. I mean, he didn't just happen to get hit. He didn't just get some shrapnel that hit his ear, right? This guy was injured saving his men. And they decided to, at their convention, pass out little Band-Aids to put on their faces that had Purple Hearts on them because the American military's medal for men and women injured in action is called a Purple Heart. So they wanted to mock his Purple Heart and say, oh, look, we all got Purple Hearts for doing nothing too. Okay? Look at what these assholes, I'm sorry, but they're assholes. Look what these assholes did. And the media reported it like, oh, wow, so crazy. Where the media didn't go, imagine if Democrats had done this, right? Guys, everyone in the audience was doing this. Everyone, look at this idiot on her chin. Everyone in the audience was doing this. I mean, it was sickening. It was beyond sickening. So the guy who organized it now works for the Trump campaign. They're doing the same thing to Tim Walz. This is kind of amazes me. So Tim Walz, Harris's VP, 24 years in the U.S. military, 24 years. Okay. He joined for around 19 or 20 years, right after coming at 17 years old. So he signs up immediately for the military, stays for 17 or 20 years or so. He then retires. September 11th happens, right? You all know September 11th, and he re-enlists to help his country, right? I mean, it doesn't get more patriotic than that. He re-enlists to help his country, stays for another 4 years, and then issues a press release saying, I'm exploring a congressional run, and he announces he's retiring. Well, after he retires, within a year, there's his, what do you call the group? Squadron, whatever it is, but the group he's with in the National Guard gets sent to Iraq. J.D. Vance now And we're going to talk in a second about JD Vance, because JD Vance is the last person on the planet who should be mocking anyone's military service. JD Vance says, and the Republicans are now, he fled. He abandoned his men. They've got a stupid article in the Rupert Murdoch paper saying, my son died after JD Vance, after Tim Walz abandoned him. Only the Republicans could take a man with 24 years military experience. He rose to an incredibly senior level in the military as well, like a super senior level, 24 years, who retired after 19 years, signed up again because of September 11th, because that's how patriotic he is. And then 4 more years later, at year 24 or 25, he decided to retire. And then his men got sent to Iraq afterwards. And he announced the retirement because he was going to run for Congress. They're saying he abandoned his men. Guys, 25 years of service, you abandoned the men. And again, the call up to Iraq happened afterwards. Okay? It gets better. JD Vance, you might have heard, is a Marine. I remember hearing how JD Vance is a Marine. I was kind of impressed. I thought, wow. And during Iraq as well, I'm like, I don't really imagine JD Vance holding a gun, killing Al-Qaeda, but I'm kind of impressed, right? Oh no. All the time JD Vance talks about being a Marine, guess what kind of Marine he was? I didn't even know this kind of Marine existed. He sat at a desk writing articles about the news from his unit. So the guys would go out and risk their lives fighting Al-Qaeda, and they'd come home, and JD Vance would sit at his typewriter and write a story about it. That's what he was doing. Now, I'm not going to criticize war journalists, right? That's fine. Military's got to have, and look, military's got to have chefs. Military's got to have journalists. I mean, that's fine. But sit on his couch, exactly. That's fine. But to sit here and you joined the Marines and you tell everybody you were in the Marines in Iraq, so they're assuming, oh my God, you faced life and death every day with a gun in your hand facing down Al-Qaeda, right? Right? He was a public affairs guy writing articles. He wasn't hunting Al-Qaeda. He was writing articles. He has the nerve to go after somebody else. And again, he spent 4 years. Why did he only spend 4 years? Oh, did he abandon the unit? We were in Iraq for 20 years. JD Vance abandoned all our servicemen in Iraq. They stayed there, right? Another 15 years. He left, or however long afterwards. He didn't stay. But this is what Republicans do. They do this kind of bullshit of basically lying, and they love to lie about the troops. Keep in mind, Donald Trump is a draft dodger. Donald Trump refused to go to Vietnam. He got his doctor. We all know Donald Trump and his doctors, right? He got his doctor to write a note saying he had bone spurs and couldn't go to Vietnam. Sure, he did. How about the other Trump kids? Were they not able to fight for their country? All of them could have enlisted. Didn't hear about any other Trump kid enlisting, right? None of them enlisted. How about Donald Trump's comments about our soldiers being suckers and losers? Donald Trump said that American killed in action and American prisoners of war are suckers and losers for joining the military, because basically what kind of loser would join the military and risk their life? Who would do something that's stupid, he said. Suckers and losers. He refused to visit the American military cemeteries in France and the rest of Europe because, again, they were suckers and losers. And it was wet out and he didn't want to ruin his hair, he said. Okay, President of the United States. These are the people that are going after a guy with 24 years military service who then stepped down from the military but came back to help again because of September 11th. Yeah. I mean, this is what they do though, and they're very good at it. They're very good at the lies. This is where, and again, Kamala Harris's people fortunately are, thank you, Dannon, are tough. Her people are like, bam. I mean, they have been, somebody on CNN was even saying the other day that the way the Harris people were hitting back against Trump was so hard. And it was so, they basically said, you would never see this kind of a press release out of the Biden people. And basically that Biden kind of wanted to take the high road. And even if Republicans are hitting hard, step back and be very, very nice. It was like, okay, fair enough. But, I mean, it's, I think it's scummy and I'm fine. I mean, military public affairs people get killed too. But I got news for you. If you're going to claim that this guy's misrepresenting his record, okay, after 24 years in service, when you say I fought with the Marines in Iraq and you were actually public affairs guy, you weren't fighting with the Marines in Iraq. You may have been stationed in Iraq. You may have been sent to Iraq. You were not fighting with the Marines in Iraq, right? JD Vance wanted us to believe I believed it. I believed it forever that he actually fought in Iraq, that he was one of the guys on the front line. No, he wasn't. It's again. Anyway. All right. A little bit more here. Joe Rogan. So this is kind of fascinating. So Joe Rogan, who is a big podcaster, he's crazy. Conspiracy theorist, nut job, but very popular, endorsed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday. And then this morning unendorsed him because the Trump people freaked out. So yesterday, Rogan said something like, the only person I can see voting for is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And of course, the Kennedy people loved it, of course. Well, the Trump people went crazy. Trump even attacked him today publicly. And suddenly Rogan said, I didn't say I was endorsing him, which, I mean, you said the only person you could see voting for was this guy, right? Anyway, it's interesting because I will say this, in many of the polls we are seeing, Trump does worse when Kennedy's in the race. In a number of the states, Trump has been before it was taking from both sides. Now, at least the most recent polls I'm seeing, it's hurting Trump more. But exactly, Kyle Rittenhouse was the other one who was this guy who killed several people in Wisconsin, I think it was, and on trial and cried and explained that he was very scared by the black man. And Rittenhouse also put out an excoriating comment about not supporting Trump. And within 12 hours, he was like, I didn't say that. I'm supporting Trump. It's like, sure you are, young man. He got threatened. He's not exactly, he's not the brave kid he'd like you to believe. Finally, we'll skip that one. Let's talk about Ukraine. So the Ukraine news has been happening, fascinating the last few days. Sorry, just checking here. Like I said, I've got to have my, okay. Thank you, Annie, for the gift. Please keep the gifts coming, guys. I know we did get a number of subscriptions today. I very much appreciate it. Keep them coming. But I will do, like I said, today, just very busy dealing with the family stuff today. So I couldn't do the special show for the election show earlier. So I apologize for that, but we'll do, and then last night, my plumbing broke again. That was last night's show. So hopefully we're on track now, back to normal. Hopefully. That was a very cool gift though. Thank you, Annie. So let's do Ukraine. Fascinating what's going on in Ukraine. It's day 897 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. Thank you, Tiger Pug. That little bear thing is kind of cute. I never fully realized. No, Joe, you're Joe the plumber. What do you call the drip from the HVAC? Well, the HVAC. It's got an emergency thing, but it also has a little drip primer, whatever you call it, that goes into the P pipe, S pipe, whatever it is. And that pipe clogged down. I don't want to get too, it's really not condensate though, because it's an HVAC. It doesn't, apparently that condensate thing is on the roof. It simply has an emergency valve that goes into a thing. And there's also a primer that drops water in to keep water in there so it doesn't smell. Well, the pipe clogged 55 feet into my building. I'm in a condo. They had to clean it out a month ago and it clogged again, which I thought was weird. So they cleaned it out again. And, I bought some water leak detectors, thank God, because literally I was like, I'm not having this again. It's been a month. The water leak detectors went off and caught it. I was like, holy shit. I mean, literally, I thought I'm paying $80 on Prime Day for a water leak. Am I wasting my money? It was not a waste of money. We may have a troll over at YouTube, folks. Just be aware. Any case, so yes, it's supposedly fixed. Building's responsible, but a little weird that it happened twice. It happened twice. I know nothing about HVACs, but Nick Cat, I know so much about politics it'll make your head spin. 40 years in Washington and a graduate degree at Georgetown and a law degree at Georgetown and working at the United Nations, the U.S. Senate, the World Bank for nonprofits, helping political campaigns. All of that kind of makes you an expert. So thank you for asking. All right, let's move on. So Russia, oh my God. This is absolutely fascinating. Who is this character? Folks, Phil Cool in on who the character is he just posted on TikTok. I don't know if I know where the bodies are buried, but I know things. Yeah, the World Bank all the way down. Yep, the headquarters, it's all the way down like is it 18th and I? I forget what the cross street is now. It was I think was the I or K was the cross street. But yep. So Boris Badenov, but explain who that is. So Ukraine invaded Russia 3 or 4 days ago. It's pretty hilarious. They caught the Russians. I'm going to sort of summarize and then go through some specific notes. Russia has been, let me get my map here. Russia has been fighting very hard in eastern Ukraine, right? They're occupying these areas. They're fighting all along the front, everywhere here. And causing a lot, and especially around here, Donetsk, a lot of fighting here. The Ukrainians decided, let's have some fun, and let's invade Russia all the way up here. Where the Russians, because Russian troops, the fighting is here. The Ukrainians invaded up here. Well, they invaded with at least 1,000 troops, maybe 6,000, I'm reading, got pretty deep into Russia, started taking Russian towns, started taking some strategic Russian towns, some railways. The Russians are freaking out. The Russians weren't ready for it. The Russians didn't see it coming. Gerasimov, who's the defense minister, I always forget, is he the defense minister now? Or no, he's the chief of the general staff, I believe, the top general. He saw it coming and didn't believe it. Like he saw the intelligence and didn't believe it. So they're in so much trouble across the board. Ukraine has been taking a lot of land. The Ukrainians are killing a lot of Russian troops. The Ukrainians are taking a lot of Russian troops prisoner. Today, for example, there was a report that the Ukrainians blew up 12 transport vehicles of a Russian convoy transporting troops. And Preston Stewart just said that if those vehicles were at full capacity, that's 312 casualties that the Russians had with the Ukrainians attacked those. Could have killed 312 of their troops. That's huge. Around 66 soldiers, Russians, were taken captive, surrender in one battle in the last couple of days. That's the biggest surrender in the war. This is hilarious what's happening. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. There and they seem to be there also seem to be fighting even deeper in Russia, closer to Moscow, in some locations there too. I will go through some details, but I'm sort of trying to give you the overview. It's not quite clear what the Ukrainians are doing. It's not quite clear why they're doing it. Thank you, Addie. What I mean by that is, of course, it feels good. You typically don't plan attacks in war to feel good. And I say this about politics too, about activists too. I don't care if it feels good. I want to know, what does it achieve? And I would say the experts are still trying to figure out what Ukraine's up to, because it's okay. Are you trying to force the Russians to move troops from elsewhere? Sure, they're saying, and it is, but thank you, Casey. But a lot of the experts are saying Russia still has a lot of troops, so it may not cause much damage to their efforts elsewhere. B, are you trying to take Russian land and hold on to it to make a peace negotiation harder for Russia? If you can hold it, yes, because we were talking about this yesterday or the other day. It is hard for Russia to say, I want a ceasefire where we freeze the war where it is, when now Ukraine owns part of Russia. Currently, Russia was just owning part of Ukraine, right? Or occupying part of Ukraine. So Russia wanted the war frozen. They wanted it frozen with them occupying Ukraine. They don't want the war frozen with Ukraine occupying Russia. So that's very interesting. Thank you, Al, for that. That's very funny. Stephen, I don't know. Stephen Marco asks, will Kamala Harris have to certify the election for herself? Wow. He's talking about the vice president, just because super chat question, we always do those when they pop up. The vice president oversees the Senate, the Senate, when they are going through the ballots, but certifying the election. Because on January 6th, remember, that's what Trump attacked when he had the insurrection. It was January 6th because that's the day that in the Constitution or whatever, Congress is required to sit down and certify the votes. And the vice president oversees. That's why Mike Pence was there, right? That Mike Pence was there. So actually, yes, he would, because we know Mike Pence was there in order to oversee whether he won or not. And they were going to kill him. The mob that Trump sicked on them said they were going to lynch Mike Pence. Lynching is, a rope around your neck. Very bad. So yes, they would be. Yep. All of them would have, because again, as Mike Pence, we know Mike Pence was there because they were hunting him. So sure, it'd be the same thing. Yep. It's ceremonial until it's not. The Trump people argued that it wasn't ceremonial. The Trump people wanted Mike Pence to basically throw certain states out in order to potentially give Trump the election. And it's very complicated. I did a lot of reading on this, talking to a lot of experts. Part of the problem is it's not clear, because up until now it's been pro forma. Pro forma meaning just ceremony, right? They get together and, one or two people object to things. It's ceremony, and whoever won the election wins. It's very non-controversial. Trump wanted Pence to do something that never had been done and say, well, I don't trust the votes from Arizona. I don't trust the votes from Georgia. We should throw them out or whatever. Had Trump done that, it would have, and had the vice president done that, it would have likely had to go to the courts. Oh, I know more than you know about this. That's for sure. Oh, I'm sorry. We got our trolls saying, you know nothing, which means they're worried because I'm right. I researched this to death before the election. It would probably have to go to the courts to adjudicate, does Mike Pence have the right to throw out these states' votes in the Congress? The big concern among legal scholars is that the Constitution makes clear it's up to the Congress to figure this out. It's up to the Congress to figure out the rules. It's up to the Congress to figure out the procedures. The court could have very easily said, we have no role in this, right? The Constitution makes it very clear the Congress certifies, not the courts. And the courts could have sent it back to Congress and say, you figure it out. So if the vice president had said, I'm not certifying the election, or I'm not certifying these states, there might have been no legal recourse for the Biden people. And they would have had their coup, because the court would have said, it's a political matter, we're not getting involved. And especially now with the Supreme Court being so MAGA Republican, right? I mean, they took away a woman's right to an abortion, or the protections for it. They could do the same thing with voting. So very scary. Trust me, it's very complicated. I've spent a lot of time trying to understand this before the election. It's just very scary. What else we got here? Oh, so Kursk. Let me give you some of the details. Let me see here. Kursk, actually, this was kind of funny. Ukraine was the first country since World War II to invade Russia. I love that. I was just like, oh, that's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. The first country since World War II to invade Russia. Bloomberg says that Russian military bloggers report Ukraine has advanced 37 kilometers or 23 miles into the region now. The U.S. Reiterated that it's fine with Ukraine using our weapons in this battle inside Russia. Listen to this. Basically, a summary said, while the U.S. doesn't support long-range attacks into Russia, the intervention in Kursk is consistent with Washington's policy on Ukraine's use of American-supplied weapons, the Pentagon said. Meaning, our policy is Ukraine is allowed to use our weapons for border clashes and things along the border. They're not allowed to use our weapons for long-range attacks into Russia. And what the Pentagon came out and said, 10 miles into Russia isn't long-range. It's totally okay. Well, I'm impressed, because I thought the Biden administration would crap its pants at Ukraine doing this, going, oh my God, escalation. So it's kind of cheeky and fun that they're doing this. Also, the Biden administration just announced a significant new aid package for munitions, so like ammunition, to the Ukrainians today, which I think was timed as an extra, basically, to the Russians, to be like, oh, you think you're going to rally the world around, oh my God, look how scared, look how scared NATO is. Ukraine's invading us. They're escalating, blah, blah, blah. And the U.S. turned around and said, yeah, we're okay with it. And we're actually going to give them even more weapons. So that was pretty cool. Julius has a super chat question or comment. One story I read earlier said Ukraine might have attacked in Kursk to preempt a potential Russian buildup of troops to stop an attack. Maybe if you're saying the intelligence was that Russia was going to build up troops in that region and attack themselves from that region, maybe, yeah. I mean, that could be a good reason, if you know they're going to attack anyway, get your troops there first and attack first. But I mean, this has been a freaking disaster for Russia. More here. One second here. Russia dispatched military reinforcements to the region. The defense ministry in Moscow sent tanks, artillery, and multiple launch rockets to Kursk on the fourth day of fighting. Earlier Friday, Ukraine's general staff said it carried out a drone strike on a military airfield in the neighboring Lipetsk region. That's actually closer to Moscow, which targeted a storage facility for glide bombs and reportedly destroyed 700 glide bombs. That's huge because the glide bombs are the really scary bombs the Russians have been using to blow up Ukraine quite effectively. So Ukraine used a massive drone attack to take out the military base. And this military base is halfway to Moscow, guys. It's really far. And we're able to blow up 700 of the bombs, which basically stops them from attacking Ukraine. Andres, you did 5 gift memberships on YouTube, including for Ruth McKinley, Jay Sands, Ryan Smith, Mario Weinrich, and Dana Sawin. Thank you for that. All of you make a point, if you can, of joining us tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. For our paid subscribers, we do a special show. My friend Vlad from Ukraine joins us sometimes. Otherwise, we'll hang. We'll talk about Ukraine and the American election. And I also do shows throughout the week, kind of randomly, but usually late morning by early afternoon, Washington, D.C. time, talking about the election. A little more here. Putin looked grim-faced at a regular meeting of his Security Council on Friday. I just think that's hilarious. Gerasimov and top officials seemingly dismissed intelligence warnings. This is Ukrainian military leadership, the Russian military leadership. Gerasimov and top officials seemingly dismissed intelligence warnings that Ukrainian soldiers were gathering near the border with Russia's western Kursk region as much as 2 weeks before they began the assault. And nobody briefed Putin about it, according to a person close to the Kremlin. Defensive forces inside Russia were caught off guard and offered little initial resistance. So they had intelligence on this. They ignored it, and they didn't even tell Putin. And he got them. Thank you, Blue Ariel. Julius, with another super chat on YouTube. Thank you. Also, don't they have a National Guard of sorts to handle domestic defense? I'm going to assume that's the Rosgvardia, that I can never pronounce. If Misha's here, maybe he can tell us. I'd have thought they would first rush to stop the attack. My guess is that you've got the war is in its third year. They've got a lot of new recruits, but it's not like they have men to spare. A lot of those guys are probably working elsewhere, or possibly even Ukraine, would be my guess. But I'd be curious what other people say, but that's going to be my guess. They didn't have men to send there, and they weren't worried about an attack there. It's kind of out of the way, right? So why would you move men there that you might need elsewhere for Ukraine or whatever, right? It's hard to pronounce though, because it doesn't work in English. I know it's the Rosgvardia. It's just a weird series of letters to get right in English. All right, a little more here. We've got the 12 that were blown up. Oh, here's a little bit more. A Ukrainian FPV drone hit another Russian helicopter in the same region, the Kursk Oblast. This comes as the second reported case this week. A Russian Mi-28 attack helicopter was reportedly hit by an FPV drone on August 6th as well. What happened, Kitty, is there is an ongoing attack by the Ukrainians inside Russia for the last 4 years or so. And they have, the Ukrainians have taken Russian land, and the Russians are freaking out. And the Ukrainians have done quite a good job. The Russians weren't ready for it. The Ukrainians are now occupying Russia. I think 4 days now. I think we're into the fourth day. Ukrainians are occupying part of Russia. The Russians are not having a good time fighting back. And it's been a big embarrassment to Putin and a huge morale boost for the Ukrainians. And we don't know where it's heading next, but this has been kind of a disaster for the Russians. Big public relations disaster. Oh, the Russians blew up their own town again, as they like to do. Russian airstrikes on residents of the Kursk region, which is the region. Russian aviation dropped an air bomb on the village of Darino in the region. There was no evacuation of residents from the village. They just bombed the village that still has Russians in there. This is what they do. They're famous for bombing their own people. Famous. And a lot of times it's their weapons screwing up and them screwing up, which is because they suck at this. Like normal militaries don't just bomb their own people on a regular basis. The Russians do. Oh, this is interesting too. Ukrainian special forces have also conducted an amphibious raid on the Russian-occupied Kinburn Spit. The operation destroyed 6 Russian armored vehicles and personnel. This is interesting because the Ukrainians are busy invading Russia up here, okay? At the same time, okay, the main battles are happening here with Russia. Ukraine invades up here just to screw with Russia's head, okay? At the same time, the Ukrainians go all the way down here. I think it's this little bit, all the way down here and invade this little itty bit sticking out into the water. This itty little bit here, more or less, where I'm pointing. And the Ukrainians invaded and took out a bunch of Russian troops. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. It's the fact that you've got, you know, the Russians tied down, actually Ukrainians tied down elsewhere, that then they would turn around and be able to fight, that they would be able to fight halfway across the country and with an operation that actually went quite well is rather impressive. Because you'd think maybe they wouldn't want to risk it. Having said that, this is very smart too. While Sauron's eye is busy looking at Kursk, do something else elsewhere to screw with him, right? Because Putin's focusing all the way in the north now. So they decided to go south and mess with him. Not a terrible, if you've got the troops to do it, not a bad idea. And a couple more final stories. Russia has banned YouTube entirely, and now they're blocking Signal and WhatsApp. Signal and WhatsApp are hugely popular messaging apps. WhatsApp is popular with everybody in terms of just communicating around. I used WhatsApp a lot in Indonesia and Singapore. A lot of the stores in Indonesia give you their WhatsApp number. Like that's how they communicate. A lot of people too. You meet people, you use WhatsApp. Signal I use with my political friends because Signal is a very high quality encryption. So a lot of political folks use it, and the Russians have banned it. And they banned YouTube. I mean, they banned everything, guys. It's, again, God pity those kids of those Russian spies who thought they were Argentine, living in Europe, and their parents said, "Hi, we're moving you back to the land without toilets." WhatsApp is required for communications in Africa. Oh yeah, it's super. I would say it's not used much in the US, although people are. Like I've started using it more and more. But I really didn't start even using it much until I went to Asia, and I was like, all right, I'll start using WhatsApp. It's nice, but it's interesting. Julius, thank you. Very generous of you, Julius. I haven't been on in some time. You've not, I know. That's okay. I just know there were floods of tears and weeping at my absence. Of course, we were gnashing of the teeth. Yes. All jokes aside, how are things? I'm afraid your more moderate political stance might have upset more right-leaning viewers. Oh, well, sure. I'm sure that's the case, but what do you do? What do you do? It's, I believe in defending my democracy. I couldn't be, I thought about it. I thought with the election coming up, do I not talk about Trump? And I thought, how do I report on the election and not talk about Donald Trump? Like, how do you objectively talk about Donald Trump? Let me rephrase this. How do you objectively talk about Donald Trump in a way that doesn't piss off Trump supporters? I mean, like, you're supporting a rapist. You're supporting a guy who hates the troops, tried to violently overthrow our government, doesn't believe in the Constitution, loves America's enemies, hates America's allies, stole classified information, sexually assaulted women, is a convicted felon. I mean, that's all objectively true. How do you report on that in a way that is objective, that doesn't piss people off? So I finally gave in and said, you know what? At the risk of losing people, there's no way. And actually, I will tell you this. The numbers initially had a little bit of a blip. We've got more followers now than ever, which is great. We've got, I'd say, consistently more followers than we had. I think the followers are probably twice as much now on TikTok especially. And the income's been better too. Like on TikTok, I will tell you, the election coverage on TikTok, far more lucrative, which is something, this is kind of a funny thing. I've told you guys this before because I've done online media since 2004, 2005. One of the problems with online media is you're the one creating the media and you're the one getting paid, and this is your job. So it's not like you're a reporter where you're making $100,000 a year and you just write good stories, right? You don't care about the advertising of the paper other than maybe you get fired. When you do this on your own, your income decides whether you can pay the bills each month. So all of a sudden, and this is the truth of anybody, you look at stuff and you've got to pay attention to what stories do people like, what stories don't they like, what stories bring in more money from viewers, what stories. I mean, it's kind of too bad, but it does. I mean, I still cover Ukraine doesn't bring in as much, I will tell you, but well, it depends. I shouldn't say that. Ukraine brings in a lot of the gifts. The gift people are Ukraine. The not advertising, however TikTok does it, you get paid by the number of viewers. That's the election. Ukraine, that's the election. So it's been an interesting mix. But I also care about Ukraine, so I'm not going to stop reporting on it. But it is kind of difficult. Like you're always having to pay attention of what works, and it's hard, I'm going to watch because I'm too old for Fight for Ukraine. But even better, someone says you're going to fight for Ukraine to watch. I'm going to watch because you know why? The Ukrainians are going after the Russians for me. All I have to do is give Ukraine weapons, and they wipe out the Russian military. It's been glorious. Absolutely glorious. So I don't need to go fight. And this is a message for every American. Thank you, Sally Sunshine, or Sally Sunshine, I'm calling you, or Sunshine. Thank you, Randy. That's the beauty of what's happening in this war. Ukraine is destroying one of our top two enemies in the world. And they're destroying their military, setting them back a decade, making them much less of a threat to us and to everybody else in the world, and taking them down a peg at the same time. And they're doing it at no expense to us other than weapons and money. We don't have to risk a single one of our lives. I mean, if anything, we should be embarrassed. I'm very thankful. Oh, it's the boneless duck. The boneless duck again. Oh, it's a goose. The relaxed goose. I go with boneless. Yeah. So no, fortunately, I don't have to go fight in Ukraine because the Ukrainians are destroying the Russians for me and doing it quite well. So, haha. I did not see, actually, Trump did look not well. It's funny you say that. Renee says, Trump, thank you for that, Renee, by the way, says Trump isn't well. His eyes are sunken in, lost weight, and his lips were tinged gray. I saw him speaking today, and I thought he looked a little sick, to be honest. I thought he did. I mean, I did. Also, I mean, his hair's been a mess since he left the White House. I think his gay barber finally had it with him because his hair is a mess now. But he also did not look great. Well, I think he's on Ozempic. He's got to be on Ozempic to lose weight because he was morbidly obese. Thank you, Flower Lady. So I think that, losing weight could easily be just because of that. That he just has lost weight because he's on the pill. But it is incredibly, guys, he's not campaigning this week. The only campaign stop he's doing is in a state that he won by 16 points that he doesn't need to campaign in. In other words, it's a freebie. It's an easy rally. Honestly, it's such an easy rally of support. It's the kind of place you send someone who's in trouble and they need to hear the roaring crowds. Like maybe he's depressed and he can't work. He may be suffering from depression, right? Like that's all I can think of why they would send him there. And it's the only place he's going for the week. No other states. With 3 months to go, no other states. While Kamala Harris is soaring in the polls now. You need to stop her momentum. You do that by Donald Trump going out and stealing the news. Something's wrong with him. Something's wrong. Oh, well. I did have a podcast, WC, for years. And, it never caught on. It's also a lot of work. Because even this, I've got to be careful because since I'm doing the other show, like right now, I'm noticing today my voice is getting a little rough, Yeah, his plane had an emergency. That was another lie he told yesterday. He went off yesterday about when I was in California during the wildfires, I was with Willie Brown, or who are the guy that Kamala Harris dated. I was with Willie Brown, and we were in a helicopter, and it almost crashed. The helicopter came down. We almost died. And he says to me all sorts of horrible things about, he hates her. All sorts of horrible things about Kamala Harris. He's going on. Well, they asked everybody else about it. Everybody else went, Gavin Newsom was there. He's like, he goes, I was there. There was no helicopter crash. The other guy, Jerry Brown. By the way, Willie Brown wasn't even in the helicopter. Willie Brown's black. Willie Brown wasn't in the helicopter. Guess who was in the helicopter? What is it? Is it what's his name? It's not James Brown, is it? What's the name of the I'm forgetting the name of the governor who was dating Linda Ronstadt. What's his name? Help me out here. Jerry Brown. And it's Brown, right? Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown was in the helicopter. Jerry Brown's white. So the thinking is Trump got and Willie Brown's really black, by the way. Trump got Willie Brown confused with Jerry Brown, who was the white governor, and thought that he was in the helicopter with the white governor, not with the black, maybe former mayor. I forget if somebody wants to correct me here. So he gets the story totally screwed up, and he lies about it. Every single one of them goes, it didn't. And Jerry Brown was the right. Jerry Brown, the former governor, was the best. He goes, okay, it was mayor. Oh, he was mayor. Okay. He goes, all right, people know me. I like to talk. I like to talk about myself. Jerry Brown, the former governor, he goes, if I was nearly in a helicopter crash, you would have heard about it. He goes, I guarantee you would have heard about it a lot. Trump just made the entire thing up. I was almost in the helicopter was going down. And it's actually, I will say this, Lou Sharpton, who I don't like, but Lou Sharpton said today, he goes, you know, you're going down in a helicopter with Donald Trump and your first instinct is to trash your girlfriend and say, I really don't like Kamala Harris. She's awful. Now, mind you, Willie Brown, who wasn't there, has actually endorsed Kamala's campaign. He said lots of good things about her. But also, like, really? Like, you're going down with Donald Trump and you think, you know what? I need to tell Donald Trump how much I hated my ex-girlfriend. Like, what? Oh, there was a helicopter. By the way, there was a helicopter, but it was Gavin Newsom and Jerry Brown, past and former, and current governor, who were there. This, by the way, with this I'd forgotten. This was the forest fire that Trump said that the solution to the forest fire was they need to rake the forest more. The forest had too many leaves. And mind you, this is a huge freaking forest. It's California. The forest had, raking, from anybody abroad, raking is when the leaves fall and you've got a tool that you go and it pulls the leaves and you pull the leaves into a pile and then put them in a bag. Trump says because the forest rangers didn't do that, the forest had too many leaves. They should have raked the entire forest. It wouldn't have had leaves and the fire wouldn't have spread. Like millions of miles of forest. I mean, literally millions of miles of forest. And they're going to go out there with their little rake, like little granny, and like raking it. He's crazy. I mean, the man's crazy. And again, this is the crap he gets away with because he's Donald Trump, Now, what is it? I will say this. What's interesting about this is he is, he's finally facing scrutiny about his age because he's the old guy now. And it stands out. Like, and for the media too, like no longer do they have Biden to look at. They've got Trump to look at. And you've got Kamala Harris being smart and normal. And then you've got Donald Trump being crazy, wrong, and kind of delusional, talking about sharks and batteries and whether if you sank in a boat, would you throw the battery at the shark and would it bite it or would the battery kill you? Which he did, by the way. Actually, I ordered a Trump wig that's coming on Monday. I'm going to use it for when I do my Trump readings. So I thought that would be kind of fun. Julius, thank you again. Crazy thought. Maybe he's not campaigning because he's running low on money. Maybe. Almost all of it, I think, is going to his massive legal fees. And they may be doing a ton of, that's interesting. It could be a money problem. It could be. He did bring in a lot of money when he got shot at, but it could be. Yeah. The wig, I found a decent wig. We'll see. But I figure when I do my Trump readings, I'm going to put the wig on. Because I had one today. Where's the one today? Let me see if I can find it. I had one today. And again, we won't go too long today because my voice is not the best. Like I said, it's been a stressful day. And at the same time, I think because I've been doing the other shows, it's been putting out my voice a little. But I want to find this from Trump. Hang on. I just have to scroll through. I was going to tell you this. There was a new survey out of the top supporters of Ukraine by GDP. So based on the size of their economy. So not the money they gave, but the money they gave as a percent of their economy. Meaning, if I give $1,000 donation to a charity, that's a lot of money. I can afford it, but that's a lot of money for me. I can afford it, but it's a lot of money, right? If somebody who's a factory worker gives $1,000 to a charity, they literally just gave up their electric bill and their food for the month, right? So you don't just look at how much does each country give in order to say, are they giving their fair share? You look at how much are they giving based on what they could give. How much are they giving based on the size of their economy, right? It's the fairer way. Well, looking at the European countries and America, and this includes the EU portion, Denmark is now number 1, Estonia number 2, close number 2, Lithuania still pretty good, Latvia still pretty good, jumps down to Finland, then Sweden, then Poland. So it's still everybody in the region. Slovakia, Netherlands, Czech Republic, Croatia, interesting, Belgium, Germany. It took a while to get to Germany here. Norway, bad Norway, Bulgaria, UK, that's not very good. Bulgaria is beating UK. France, even worse. Austria, not to be, and the US is down here like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. US is 24th on the list. Because we like to say, we've been giving the most. Hold on, I'm going to find this thing from Trump. I'm going to read you this, and then I think we'll call the show quits after that. I also was struggling last night for like an hour and a half trying to get my TV to work with my Google Voice, and oh my God, it was just like, oh my God, I was not happy. So help me God, I'm going to find this Trump quote. Give me a moment. And then remember, we've got the new auction items, which I will show you the new auction items in a second, because I've got a number of them up now. I've got all of them up now, actually. They're up through next Wednesday night. Thank you, Martin, for that. They're up through next Wednesday. Oh, I have to find this. If I can't find it, I'll give up. But I think his Martin Luther King thing was here from last night. And I really, 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 really want to read this. Oh, thank you for the happy Friday. If I can't find it, I can't find it. But like I said, I want to. Beep, 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 beep. Sorry, guys. Looking for quotes here. I think it might have been here. This is the TikTok thing I was telling you. I may not be able to find it. Too bad. Okay, I had it, but shoot, it was a great paragraph of Trumpism that was just like, really? Classic Trump crazy stuff. I'm not going to find it. Oh, too bad. I must have retweeted it or something. I'll have to look at Twitter later. Last little thing to show you. So we do have a number of auction items. They are now all up. I will show you. We've got a Russian military hat from Ukraine, not used, but clearly absconded from the Russians because it's still got the label on it and everything. It's got cool little like the Russian symbol of the two eagles on the pin there. But you can check it out I've got a nice video of it. You can see it really clearly at the Discord. Cool shirts that we've got. Some t-shirts Vlad got in Ukraine. They are Ukrainian Trident shirts, medium, large, and extra large. You can see. I tried on a large, and it fit me. It was a little big, which means it's the correct size, because American larges are a little large on me. I actually thought it looked good on me. It was a nice shirt, but the large was a little large. So I would say it is a correct American large. I can't tell you about the medium or the extra large, because a correct American large is a little large on me. So there's 3 of them. Winner picks which one they want. Large, extra large, medium. Couple more. Oh, candy. This is the last of the Vlad candy. We have candy that Vlad sent from Ukraine. Waffleini, chocolate, like a chocolate, what do you call it? The chocolate wafer candy. Milka, I know it's Sweden. Don't get mad, Swedes. This, Vlad says, is like a toffee, basically, from Ukraine. This is peanuts in caramel. 2 of these are these apple, we think these are apple roll-ups. One says candy apple and the other says apple currant. So 2 different flavors of apple roll-up. It says 100% fruit, no sugar added. So hopefully that's telling the truth. And finally, this stuff that looks like bubble gum, it's actually a big bag of it. It looks like bubble gum, but it actually is a soft fruit candy, I believe. I actually should taste one. Yeah, I could open. Let's open one and taste one. Although it's not easy to. Oh, you know what? Let's see if I can do this. He tied it so tight, but it looked like it's fruit candy. It's soft, which makes me think it's like a gummy candy, right? Let's find out. We'll do a taste test. I mean, there's literally like 50 pieces of candy in this thing. That's what I'm wondering, if it's taffy or what. All right. There's like 50 pieces of this. We shall open it up. Pretty. Okay, kind of gummy. It's gummy. Huh. What is the flavor? It reminds me of tea. I have no idea. Can anybody read this? Does it tell us? It reminds me of tea. Any Ukrainians get a good enough read on this? Maybe cherry? Maybe it's the cherry? But it almost makes it feel like tea to me. Let's see if you guys can see that, if anybody can read it. Flavors Russian tears. It says berry. Okay, so it's some kind of berry. That's the, okay. It could be, it's different flavors. It's fruity. It's not bad. It's fruity. It's actually not overwhelmingly sweet, which is interesting too. Like, it's sweet, but it's not as sweet as it would be here, I think. And it absolutely, maybe it's currants. It for whatever reason, I feel like I'm drinking some dark tea with it. It's the tea flavor. It's weird. It's good though. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So anyway, no, it's okay. Yeah, hope not. Anyway, so we've got that. We got the bag. So that's going as one unit. A couple other things we got. Cool Ukrainian patches, 10 stickers. The Ukrainian fridge magnet for Russian warship Go F Yourself, with the soldier flipping off the Moskva, the ship the Ukrainians sank. It's also the same ship that the Ukrainian troops told the ship, go F yourself. Very famous. Some earrings that Carrie in Texas, who has her own business, made some really cute Ukrainian themed earrings. You can see the size of them, right? But they're little Ukrainian sweaters and with the design. And I've got the description of them. They've got some meaning to them, some of the shapes traditionally meant fertility. She's funny. She goes, I don't know if people will like that or not like that, that some of the shapes traditionally meant to help you with your fertility. And they're also to protect, originally thought the shapes would protect you, but they're very pretty. So she donated a couple different pairs. This is one pair. Actually, I like this pair the most, to be honest. So that's there, and I think that's good enough for right now. Yeah, and there's a cool probably Russian military spent shell that's been painted over as trench art, but TikTok, I think, would get very mad if I showed you a used bullet. So I'm not going to do that. It's very pretty. So I always put pictures up on Discord of these, and then I do a video of each one so that you get a better look at it. So you can find these over at Discord. Our Discord community always has the auctions. Thank you, Super Hornet. Thank you, Chris. Always has the auctions. Basically, go to Discord. The link is in my bio on TikTok. Click the link in my bio. Discord will be the first thing that comes up. For you guys, just go to the description of today's show. There should be a link in there that says Discord. Go to Discord, get the app, whatever it makes you do. Pass the test that says you're human, verify. And then just look on the left-hand side for the auctions. It's a honor system, so to speak, your bid. But we've been having fun with it. And I take half the money and give it back to Ukraine. And then half the money I keep to help my work. but it's been nice. I mean, it's not as much money as the gifts and things, to be honest, but it's still been a lot of fun. And it's been fun showcasing the Ukrainian stuff, basically. It's just kind of fun. And the bidding is fun and everything else too. So I like it. And I've kept some of the things myself, of course, not surprisingly. I don't think I have anything in front of me here, but I have my large enough collection of Ukrainian stuff. Thank you there. I don't know if you can see some of it. Hard to see though. Hard to see all of it here. It's hard to see because that's a Russian hat from Ukraine with one of the ghillie suit, Ukrainian ghillie suit things covering it on top to camouflage for you guys. Oh, you can. No, my pillow's covering it. It's behind the pillow here. You can't see it. Yeah, behind the pillow. In any case, I think I am ecstatic, Vika, that the Ukrainian soldiers are attacking Russia. On just a basic morale issue, it's great for the Ukrainians because they're doing well. It's bad for the Russians. That tends to help the Ukrainians do better fighting across the board. It tends to make the Russians fight less well across the board because it hurts morale. It would be hilarious if the Ukrainians were actually able to hold on to the territory in Russia, because then it makes it hard for the Russians to negotiate, right? Because now Russia is going to have to give up land, right? I mean, because if Ukraine's going to give up land, then Russia gives up land. So it's very interesting. Putin cannot let Ukraine hold on to this land, but do they have the men to dislodge them? Let's see. It's been going and Ukraine has been causing a lot of casualties among Russian troops in this area too. I mean, they may have killed 312 men in one attack today in a convoy. It's really bad. So that's the whole other thing. I'm not convinced, Drew. I am always honest. Neither side is winning. It's kind of a tie right now, I think. And long story as to why, because we've not supported Ukraine enough. Every step along the way, we went slower than we needed to. We gave them fewer weapons. We restricted the weapons, how they could use them. And we basically gave Russia time to dig in. And Russia took advantage of the time to dig in. So now it's going to be very hard to dislodge Russia, but it's very hard to dislodge Ukraine as well. So it could become a bit of a stalemate, which is also why maybe Ukraine's doing it, because Ukraine is thinking if Donald Trump wins the election, even though that looks less likely now, but if he could win, if Ukraine controls part of Russia, that puts them in a much better negotiating position vis-a-vis Russia if Trump tries to make a deal, right? Makes the deal happen. But exactly like Thomas Goodwin said, World War I trench warfare. Exactly. A lot of killing and not a lot of advancing going on. So anyway, ABC says Ukraine has 3,000 troops there in the area they've invaded. Yeah. It's just very interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, that's the hope too. Yeah, what Booger's saying, which is hopefully it forces Putin to pull troops from elsewhere as well. So all of a sudden he's not fighting as well somewhere else because he's got to move here. It's just really, it's just very embarrassing. You're trying to, and frankly, it's also embarrassing because, the Russians keep trying to threaten Poland and threaten the Baltic states. Like Germany to get to, we'll come after Germany next. And there was a wonderful quote. Look at this. Medvedev, remember our little drunk in the Russian government? And Medvedev, who likes to say crazy, he's the one who always talks about nuking us and everything, made some stupid threat today about Germany because they hate everybody, but the Germans too. Hang on. I'm going to find this. Adam. Yeah, because Kinzinger shared it. So Medvedev writes, the German newspaper Bild has published a revanchist article where it proudly announces German tanks come back to the Russian land, meaning, I think he's had a little to drink here. He's not writing quite clearly, meaning German tanks are finally in Russia again after World War II, right? Because they're literally in Russia because Ukraine invaded. In response, we're going to do everything to bring the new Russian tanks to Platz der Republik, meaning just wait until Russian tanks come rolling into Berlin. And Adam Kinzinger writes, dude, you can't even get Russian tanks to Russia, which I thought was just so freaking beautiful. because it's a great way to sort of end on. It's just the classic bullshit from the Russians, right? Oh, we're so scary, dude. You can't even. And again, all the threats they're doing to their neighbors, and they can't even beat the Ukrainians, right? I mean, Ukraine, you got invaded for the first time since World War II. You've got hostile troops on your soil for the first time since World War II. That's embarrassing. That's just embarrassing. But what do? You know, he'll freak out. No, Putin is not stupid though. Putin will up the ante. Putin's going to do something crazy in response. Not crazy, but something in response. Maybe he will get North Korean troops. He's going to do something. But when he does that, then NATO's going to have to respond. So we'll see. Yeah, well, that's true. Except Wagner were Russian troops, so it wasn't foreign troops on their soil. Really, right? Blue Ariel? All right, guys, let's call it quits. We've been going for an hour and a half, and like I said, my voice, I want to protect my voice here. It's got a little stilted. I will be doing the show tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time US. Join us, please. That's the show for the paid subscribers that I do every Saturday morning. It's 11 o'clock Washington, D.C. or New York City time. And it's nice. We hang out for an hour. Very casual, very friendly. It's a much smaller crowd, so we're actually able to have a much nicer back and forth. I also don't have notes for that. It's a much more casual. I don't have notes and stuff. So I'm not going to be reading a script. So there's way more time to actually pick my brain or share your opinion, but we can sort of brainstorm on this stuff, which I think is a lot more fun. So thank you, Al. And I apologize. I know I didn't sort of get to all the gifts you guys put up on TikTok because I was reading stuff. So thank you for that. Yeah, my asthma, I can tell my asthma is bothering me today too. Just because I can tell I'm kind of like, I'm doing the breathing thing again where I'm like, oh, well. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, that would be affecting my voice too. It's got to be the air quality. I think whatever with the rain, we had a lot of rain, but rain can often move dust in the air. Because I was wondering why I'm feeling the voice thing and going, that's what it is. Oh, well. Anyway, guys, I've got my inhaler. I think I will take the inhaler. I know I don't take it much, but my asthma doctor got mad. He's like, whenever you feel anything, take the inhaler. I was like, all right. But yeah, I will take it because it's bothering me a little bit. Except you know what happens? I take the inhaler and then I become zoom. Then I go through the roof. Anyway. All right. And then I'll be hyper with my dog. It's okay. Yeah, I always keep the apartment okay, cool. Oh, comfortably cool. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Have a good evening. Look for me tomorrow morning for the special show for the paid subscribers. I will probably do another election show this weekend. I do not get a nice feeling from it. No, it just kind of gives you your heart like you've had too much caffeine, which isn't necessarily a nice feeling, right? It's just a fast feeling. It's different. Boop, boop. Yeah. So otherwise, if you can't join me tomorrow, I will probably do an election show at some point this weekend. It'll be again for paid subscribers, TikTok, YouTube, Discord. Can't really predict. If you see me pop on, drop in. Otherwise, I was going to come this morning, but again, I just got too busy with stuff. Otherwise, look for me Monday night, Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern is my free show. So join me then. All right, guys. I think we had a good crowd tonight. And we still got even getting rid of the trolls, we still had a good crowd. So nice. Honey with crushed garlic. Are you insane? Maybe to keep away the vampire. I'm not drinking that. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Sorry, Marie. Not doing it. Also, I have kind of an allergy to garlic, too. So if I drink garlic, I'm going to be like itching like crazy. But also, that just sounds really scary. That's a little honey, garlic, and milk. The Ukrainian way. Oh. I'm sure it works, but if your mother was a vampire, but yeah. No, garlic is supposed to be good for you. Garlic is supposed to be good with the, thank you, Diana. It's supposed to be good for your system and the immune system and everything else. So yeah, but I do get itchy. I love garlic being Greek, but I've got to be careful because I get itchy from it. So I'm always kind of like a little, more careful nowadays. All right, guys, have a good night. I'm going to sign off. Thank you. All right, YouTube. See you guys tomorrow. And you all, garlic.